Welcome to the Fountain with Ellie Thomas. The fountain is an image that I use in my work often to speak of our multidimensionality, to connect with the life, the living water flowing within us through mind, body, spirit, heart, and all. This show is a place where we explore it all, where we tap into wisdom that has surfaced through pain and joy and the fullness of our journeys. This podcast is a place to come and remember, to sink back into the living water that flows within you and to be guided back to your fountain, your fullness, your wholeness, and how to be with that as we navigate living as divine humans in this wild, wild world and this wild, wild journey. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in together and be refreshed and consoled by the water that wants to flow through. Hello. Welcome back to the fountain. I have so many thoughts on fullness that have been stirring since the last episode that I wanted to share a little bit more. As I continue to check in with my own fullness as the week went on, wow, so many insights and so many moments of revelation came up. And one that was really, really helpful was the connection of moving my body. I talked about this a little bit with the music in the last episode. Moving my body in a way that feels freeing and opening, and how that creates the space for me to invite more of myself in. I'm curious for you what the ways of moving and stretching yourself and expressing yourself physically create space to invite more of you in. And another thing that came up on Saturday after yoga, I just started doing this thing last week after sharing the episode. Just a daily check-in with my fullness. What wants to come forward from my fullness today? What support can I offer to my fullness? How does my fullness want to be expressed? And just taking a moment to sit with my hand on my heart with the openness and the movement of my body and the realization and the remembrance that it is so much easier to tap into my fullness when I'm connected to my energy and my essence, and when I have moved other people's energy out and allowed myself to be in my own vibration. And for me, I often feel that vibration and moving in my heart space lightly. It feels like effervescent bubbles moving kind of in a circular motion in my torso, moving in my hands and tingling in my hands, and a warmth. And as I was sitting with this energy after yoga on Saturday, it was really fascinating because while I'm somebody that's quite comfortable in the depths and has become quite used to inviting in the deeper places of myself that I used to ignore and be afraid of, and still am sometimes afraid of, it's easy for me to forget sometimes about my lightness. And what I heard on Saturday when I just kind of did the check-in with my fullness was, fullness just wants to be invited in. Simply wants to know that the light and the dark are all welcome. And my energy is welcome here in my day with me. And I started thinking back to what was the first time I experienced kind of this invitation of my fullness. And after working on an episode where I'm sharing more of my full story with you, which is something I to date have not shared publicly, I realized the moment that this kind of invitation really occurred for me. And it was about 5 years ago, working for the first time with a coach and mentor, Rebecca of mine, that has just been a gift to my soul to work with, and somebody that I have learned so much from and that has offered me so much space and also guidance in the unraveling of the pieces of myself that were really stuck in pain and fear, and in the process of being a soulful person. And the first time that I worked with her, it was in a group setting. I was part of a group, and she had been hired to do some coaching with us. And she led what she calls a 4-part meditation, which is based off of a meditation through the Hoffman process, I believe, which is very lightly based off of the idea of internal family systems. It's a derivation of similar sorts of approaches. But the 4-part meditation, as Rebecca teaches it, and I have now used it hundreds of times with myself and with clients, and it's a little bit different each time depending on the energy of the moment. But the idea of it is to give space for listening and for curiosity and openness with our intellect or our mind space, our emotional self, our physical body, and our heart, our spiritual heart, some people, that's what I call it. Some people call this our higher self, basically our soul essence. And through this journey that one is guided on, we really welcome in our fullness. The idea is to ask and be curious and to receive insights and understanding for different parts of ourselves with zero judgment, zero need to take any action, yet at least zero need to jump to conclusions. It's just a space of self-inquiry and deepening in our knowledge of ourselves and understanding of ourselves. And she guided me through these meditations multiple times in the first year that we worked together in different capacities. And as I began to kind of understand the energy that each of these parts of me carried and how they interacted together, it was one of the most revealing and helpful ways to begin to connect with my wholeness, my fullness, to feel the tension between parts sometimes and to know how to interact with them. But simply because I had become used to what their voices sound like, what their needs were, what they were desiring, what their energy was like, what functions they had within me. And oftentimes what I noticed was, usually the way I guide it is starting with the intellect, starting with our mind and moving to either the physical body or the emotional body, depending on the moment or the situation. And one thing that I noticed was just like allowing each of those pieces to be there fully without having to do or change anything, and just being in loving witnessing of them. By the time I got to my spiritual heart or my greater self, my soul essence energy, and was able to receive the wisdom from that, sometimes none of the other parts were that important anymore. Or they weren't important. I'm not trying to take importance from them, but they weren't dominant anymore. And in the first episode of this podcast, I talked about the fountain and living in connection to the fountain really being about coming back to the heart for me, living from the heart. And just earlier today, somebody asked me about my own contemplative process and my own contemplative practice every day. And one of the things I say to people when they ask me about this is, I find that I need to give space for everything that's stirring. I have a very active mental space. So I need to give that space to come out. And I need to give space for my emotional self to come out. And I need to give space to be in touch with my physical self, all before I can actually listen to what's happening beyond that and what's happening in the greatness of my heart. And this approach is slightly different, yet complements very well the fullness that I spoke to, or the way I spoke to fullness in the last episode. But it's really an extension of what I felt on Saturday, which sometimes all we need is the invitation in. Sometimes these parts of us, all they need and desire is an invitation into us, into our lives. It's almost like this desire to simply just be invited to the table and just receive the love and the witnessing that we can offer them. And that alone evolves them and moves them to where they need to go next and where they're ready to go. One thing I really believe in transformational work is if you make space to take away and to, take away is not the right word, to release the parts that no longer need to be there, and you offer time and patience to that release without any rushing and without any pushing or doing to get energy, as they say. Once the release has happened, there's this really rich and fertile emptiness afterwards that allows greater wisdom and new emergence to come through. And this all really connects with those 5 stages of transformation that I've talked about, and I'm in process of sharing more about that with you soon. But it's kind of a similar thing. When we give space to each part of us to really be expressed, when we invite each part of our fullness to come to the table and to be heard and witnessed and seen and known, then there's this just like beautiful space afterwards, this beautiful and rich emptiness where we can feel into what wants to come next. And the guidance that comes from that is natural. There's no searching for answers. There's no need to push ourselves into something. There is a momentum from inside that is created and that leads us forward. So, I have many reflections to share with you on the beauty of the intellect, the beauty of the physical body, the beauty of the emotional body, and of our spiritual heart, our soul essence, our highest self, our essential self, as some say. And yet, I'd like to first invite you into experiencing through my version of this 4-part meditation, or what I call kind of a wholeness meditation, for yourself. And to see what it feels like to, in a guided and gentle, loving way, to really invite different aspects of you forward and to give them space and to hear their needs and to hear what's happening with them and to be expressed. And then to sit in the fertile emptiness of what comes next. To sit in the opening and the wisdom that is ready to flow once each space within you is given some time. So I'm going to lead you in without further ado to this meditation. I would love to know what comes up for you as you use this practice. This is a daily practice that you can do if you're in a season where you're feeling disconnected from any part of yourself or from your wholeness. It's an absolutely beautiful daily practice. It could be helpful if you're not used to meditation to do this while you're walking, not while you're driving, but while you're walking, or have a notebook handy and just let yourself write whatever comes up. Go ahead and sink into a seat that feels comfortable, or even lie down on the floor or your bed, bringing presence to this moment as you close your eyes if that would feel good. Allowing stillness to wash over you, to feel the support along your back body, to feel the beauty of this beautiful time you have set apart to be with yourself, to connect with all pieces of you. When you're ready, bring your attention to your mind space and just notice what's stirring there today. What does your headspace feel like? If it were a color, what color would it be? What are the words and thoughts that are running through? First, witnessing this part of you exactly as you are. Allowing a sense of love and compassion to flow into this part of you. To release all judgment, all harshness. And as you begin to tune into your headspace more, simply and lovingly ask, head, what are you needing today? Mind, what are you needing today? Intellect, what are you needing today? And make space to receive any answer that may come through. If you saw, heard, or felt something clearly, beautiful. And if you didn't, that is beautiful too. Again, allowing yourself to witness the space, the needs you have through it. And just offering up deep gratitude for all it does for you, for all of the ways that it guides you and keeps you safe. And when you're ready, you can bring your focus to your physical body, beginning to tune into any aches or pains, discomfort, whether you feel constricted or in flow physically today. Noticing how your breath enters your body, imagining your blood circulating through your extremities and back to your heart space. And just being with your physical vessel, exactly as it is, releasing any desire or need for it to change, allowing yourself to come back to trust that there is deep wisdom and beauty held in this body. Taking time to be fully with yourself here. When you're ready, you can gently and lovingly ask, "Body, what do you need today? What would feel supportive today? What would help your energy today?" And making space for anything that comes through. Whether you have received an inclination, a message of any kind or not, I invite you to extend deep love and gratitude to your body, taking a moment to recognize all of the ways that it supports you, this beautiful life it contributes to. Really recognizing its beauty in a new way. When you're ready, you can gently shift your focus to the space in your belly or wherever else you tend to connect with your emotional self. Tuning into your emotions, just notice what's happening in your emotional space today. What's coming up, what's moving through. Is there anything that is being suppressed that would like to be expressed? As you breathe, invite in space for your emotions to do what they need to do, allowing them to be exactly as they are. Allowing this part of you to speak if it has not spoken in a while, or to find calm if it has felt full and overwhelmed. Perhaps notice what age your emotional self is today and what it looks like. And as it becomes more clear, just letting love and compassion radiate through you for this piece of you. allowing a deep honoring and witnessing of your emotional self in this moment. And when you're ready, go ahead and gently ask it, emotional self, what are you needing today? What would feel supportive? Make space to witness whatever comes through. To trust that any message or understanding is true and exactly what you're needing. Taking one last moment here. And when you're ready, I invite you to bring your focus to your heart space. This beautiful space where we connect with our soul, where we connect spiritually or with God, where our essence flows through us. Breathing into that space, perhaps rolling your shoulders back and allowing your chest to open gently. Notice what your heart feels like right now. Notice if it feels open or constricted. If you can feel your heartbeat or not. And notice when the last time you felt like you connected deeply to your heart was. And no matter what is true for you, there is zero shame to be had. Allow yourself to witness yourself. Welcome yourself into connection with your heart today, whether you have connected recently or not. Invite yourself to relax into this space if it feels hard. And as you do so, just notice, what feels top of heart for me today? What is being cultivated in this space? What am I drawn to connect with beyond myself? What am I needing to allow myself to step in fully to this space and trust it? And is there any message for me here today? As you continue to breathe, allowing yourself to be with this beautiful and deep, deep part of you, just as it is, just as you are. Truly honoring wherever your heart is leading you or speaking to you. Either stay present with your heart Or invite yourself back to zoom out and notice these 4 pieces of you that create and contribute to your wholeness every day. Noticing how they connect to each other, your mind to your body to your emotions to your heart, your mind to your heart, your body to your heart. So many beautiful connections. So much is within you. And you can create space to connect with all of it and to hold it all. I invite you to take some space to just be with your wholeness, your completeness, your entirety. Or you can continue on through your day and notice how you feel more connected, more fluid with each part of your being as you do. Take your time in this space and only move when you're ready to do so. Thank you so much for listening to The Fountain. Please take a moment to rate and review the show and to send it along to a friend that comes to heart or mind. I'd also love to hear what came up for you and your experience listening to the most recent episodes. So reach out via your podcast app or send me an email. And if you'd like to book your first session or explore working together more, find me at ellieflow.com.